In this video, we'll try to understand how to make SSH connection to Sophos UTM. By default, shell access is disabled on the web admin settings. You gotta enable it if you want to make any kind of shell access connections. After you enable the shell access to the Sophos UTM, if you try to make a shell connection to the device, you're gonna face with this problem. Let's just see it together. SSH admin, then write the domain name. Just as you guys can see, I actually connected to Sophos UTM by the admin user, but the problem is that there isn't such a user called admin. You can only make SSH connection by two users, root user and the login user. If you try to make connection with admin user, you're gonna face with an issue. Your connection will be denied because there isn't such a user called admin. Let's just write random name in here. It's same. It didn't change anything because there isn't such a user too. Okay. As I told you, there are only two users by default: root user and the login user. Root user has no limits what it can do, but login user is a limited user, but it's not actually too limited. I don't know limits of the login user. You can just read the documentation for the limits. Let's just try to make root connection to our firewall. Or before doing a root connection, try to do login user connection to our firewall. SSH login user. Then write the domain or the IP address. I'll write the domain because it's easier. As you guys can see, it's asking me to password. The password is not same password with the web admin user. You gotta write the password after you enable the SSH connection. So you have to assign a password from here if you want to make a SSH connection. It's not same with the admin user that you log into web admin. I know it's kind of complicated to make a SSH connection to Sophos UTM, but this is how they designed it. Right now I'm writing a password for my login user. And when I type my password in here, my connection is successful. Alright, let's just switch to the root user. Sudo. So this is a Linux operation system, so you can use Linux commands on Sophos shell access. It's asking me a root password. It is not different than the login user. You also gotta assign a root password from this page if you want to make a root connection. Set specified passwords. Now type the password. As you can see, I'm a login user. I've got no limits. But there are another tricks about the SSH connection to Sophos UTM. One of them is that you cannot directly log in as a root user. Let's just try it. I'm going to type my root user password in here. It's denied because if you want to make a direct root connection to Sophos UTM, you need to put some authorized key for root users. There's only one way to make a root connection to our firewall. Create a public SSH key, then save it to your Sophos UTM. Other way, if you want to make a root connection to the firewall, first you should log in as a login user. Type your password. Then you can switch to root user. The root password works in this part. It doesn't work when you try to make a SSH connection directly. Let's just try it again. I'm sure I tried it, but I'm gonna try it again. Yep, permission denied. And then let's create a SSH key together. Yes. Alright, I've got a SSH key at the moment in this folder. Let's go to that folder. For Mac users, the SSH key has been saved in this file. Of course, this is gonna be your username. But for Windows users, you can just Google it. It's very simple. This is my public key. You can open it with a text editor, copy it, paste it to here, apply the changes. Let's just try to make a SSH connection to our firewall. As you can see, I directly connected as a root user. It didn't even ask me a password because my SSH key is authorized on this firewall. But if I want to make a login user connection, it's gonna require a password. So to avoid this, I'll also type my public key to here. It's still asking me a password because I didn't apply the changes. As you can see, it works very fine. You can make a SSH connection as a root user or login user without a password after you write your after you authorized your public key. This was about the authentication of the shell user. Let's talk about this section. This is called allowed networks. This is actually really important. Do not put any network as allowed networks because people can actually guess your password or they can write a bot and random maybe it matches. Then they can have access to your firewall even as a login user. They can make a lot of type of changes. So you should allow networks, only secure networks. I'm gonna allow my internal network or just allow a network that I'm not a part of, just to show you the it's not gonna work when I try to make SSH connection. As you guys can see, I cannot make SSH connection to firewall because my network is not allowed. Now I'm part of internal network. If I'll add this internal network, my connection established. There's one last trick about this page. It is that you can change the SSH connection port number. For example, by default SSH connection made in the 22 port. Let's just try it. By default I just connected to shell by 22 port, but I actually can change this default option. There's a range for this. Let's just see the range. As you can see, this is the range. You can put a number between those numbers. I'm gonna type a random number. Alright, right now I can not make SSH connection the default port. As you guys can see, it's not connecting. Let's just telnet to that port. It's trying, but it's probably not gonna success. It's not gonna success because we changed the port. If you write the port that we just changed it, as you can see, SSH connection is successful. This is the command on Linux and Mac computers. I don't know the Windows command for to make a SSH connection to another port, but this is the command for Linux and MacOS. As you guys can see, I just changed the port and it's successfully connecting from 8894 port. This was about the SSH connection. See you in another lecture.